The referee counting for 3 and his hand touching the floor does not automatically mean the match is over. The match only ends by instruction of the referee. The bell should only ring when the referee signals for the bell. Apparently, there was a little bit of controversial over the rules of professional wrestling at the main event of Forbidden Door between MJF and Hangman Page. And myself, fellow professional wrestler, and if you've been paying attention, a deep connoisseur of the rules of professional wrestling, would like to go through what happened, to try and give my take on the controversy and see if indeed there was foul play by the referee, or if we can take what we saw at face value. MJF pulls the referee in front of Hangman Page, and then shoves Hangman into the referee to be able to hit this low blow and the heat seeker. I'm not one to be sitting here and assume what the referee saw or didn't see, right? But the referee felt MJF pulling him into Hangman's way. We felt it. That definitely happened. Nothing happened there, but there was no warning towards MJF. And then MJF comes from the front.
Referee was pulled into the path.
Is Hangman Adam Page so jacked that the referee cannot see that MJF is the one pushing Hangman in? Has he been bamboozled that he doesn't remember what happened, right? Was his attention somewhere else? Which can happen. I'm not here to admit what it is, but we gotta think as a referee, did you see what happened there, right? Heat seeker happens. MJF goes for the cover. Bryce realizes that it's there, but he's rotating around, making sure he counts the shoulders. Did not see the fact that the foot of Hangman Adam Page was on the rope. Wrestling fans are Pavlovianly expecting the bell to ring and the match to be over. Bells only ring when the referee gives the indication for the bell to ring. The referee counting for 3 and his hand touching the floor does not automatically mean the match is over. The match only ends by instruction of the referee. The bell should only ring when the referee signals for the bell. The timekeeper, who is the one in charge of ringing the bell, does not have any responsibility over the end of the match, with the exception of a time limit. The only time a timekeeper is allowed to ring the bell and end the match on his own accord is when time runs out on the match. All the other times the timekeeper who rings the bell can ring the bell is when the referee directly instructs him to ring the bell. I'm sure you've all seen, beginning of the match, referee being like, indicated to someone ring the bell. He's indicating, he's giving the signal for the bell to be rang. He is asking for the bell to be rang. And that's how you get bell ringing and the match starting and ending. It is at the discretion of the referee. Bryce, the referee, did not give the indication for the bell to ring. Therefore, the match did not end, even though there was a 3 count. And it is better that there's a rule. You may ask me, well, why doesn't the bell ring then if there was a 3 count? That is because a referee, for example, and I've seen this a lot, and I'm sure you've all seen this a lot as well, a referee is able to have a 3 count where his hand touches the floor, but there is still a kick out before the hand touches the floor, but the referee's reactions are not fast enough for him to be able to stop it before the kick out happens. And he may deem that a kick out was at a legit 2.9, where despite the fact that he couldn't stop himself from touching the floor with his hand, there was still a kick out. Therefore, the referee can still do 3 and then be like, that was 2. The match is not ending. And the timekeeper does not ring the bell because he shouldn't, because the referee is kind of a barrier for the indication of the match ending. Like, even if the referee counts 3 with his hand, he can still be like, that was a 2, that was a kick out, the match is continuing. That was a very late kick out, but it still counts as a kick out. And that is the rule that leads to the bell not ringing, because referee Bryce did not give the indication for the bell to ring, because he is incapacitated. We have discussed what led to this incapacitation, but it's still there, right? This has to be a case that does not come very often, like the ref doing a 3 count and then passing out before signaling the bell. I don't remember that ever happening, but the timekeeper does not have the authority to ring the bell in lieu of the referee only if the time goes out to indicate to the referee that's time is over. He looks like my godson when I open a pack of Weetabix. He looks like Pepsi when I open the cupboard where the tricks are. That was the 3 counts. MJF is trying to wake up Bryce to be like, hey, indicate that the match is over. Give me my belt, because the match is not over yet, right? Officially, the protocol hasn't been fully covered, right? Out comes Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe with... oh, shit. Wait a minute. It was them. Blush. Tixon Memo Spotter. The problem with Mark Briscoe here is that he didn't come out with another referee, with a second referee that could see the foot, right? Briscoe had interfered on Hangman's behalf. He would have cost him, only if the referee catches him. This was stressing me out because they said the title could change hands on the disqualification. Yes, the title could change hands on disqualification. That is indeed the case. If Hangman gets disqualified, he would lose the title, right? So this distraction, I don't know exactly... Oh, obviously I don't think Mark Briscoe was... It's not like he's a thinking man's wrestler, right? He wears his emotions on his sleeve. I'm pretty sure he just wanted to beat up MJF because he could. There was a match where MJF earned the right to wrestle Hangman for the title, where he technically beat Mark Briscoe, but Mark Briscoe had his foot on the ropes and the referee didn't notice it at the time, right? What happened after that match with Mark Briscoe is that MJF realized that the foot was still on the rope, and before the referee had the opportunity to turn around and see the foot on the rope, he removed it from the rope. I am certain that throughout these past few weeks, the referees in AEW saw that MJF did that in the Mark Briscoe match. So they are now aware that MJF will be the kind of person that will do that. Therefore, the referees need to be aware of that happening. And they need to have in the back of their minds that MJF will be the kind of person that will take the foot off the rope to make sure the referee doesn't see that the foot was on the rope, right? Because once the bell rings, and once kind of like there's a little bit of a it's natural that in wrestling, at least traditionally in wrestling, there's a little bit of a what do you call it, like a not an honor period, but a certain period where you can kind of still go. There's certain leeway to like how long after a match ends where the referee's decision can still kind of change, and it's very circumstantial and pretty much like situational, and I understand that, right? Bryce Remsburg goes really quickly to catch MJF on the act of taking the foot off the rope, which makes me think that he was playing possum, that in the middle of Mark Briscoe coming out and doing all of this distraction, that referee Bryce realized that the foot was on the rope, and instead of doing it while MJF had his back turned, he waited to catch MJF on the act so that there will be no questions or doubts and he will leave no space for ambiguity, which I kind of appreciate in the case of referee Bryce taking that action, right? He's catching him doing that. He can see Hangman's foot on the rope, and he can see MJF trying to remove Hangman's foot off the rope. And it's almost like he waited for MJF to go and do it to catch him in the act of doing it, so that there would be no question or ambiguity when it comes to this situation. MJF was clearly trying to hide from the referee the fact that Hangman Page had his foot on the ropes. And because the match hadn't ended yet, and even if the match had ended, even if the bell had rung, situationally, it would be very acceptable for referee Bryce to still catch MJF and restart the match, ring the bell again to restart the match, and reverse his own decision. That is very fair and a fair thing to do, right? It's different from the thing that happened with me when the Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship was stolen away from me, because a second referee came out and became the official referee of the match. Therefore, the ambiguity of who is the referee and who takes the final decision is what happened, on top of the fact that the situation was resolved not by the referees deciding on what to do, but by Michael Oku jumping on me illegally when we were not in a match anymore, throwing me in the ring, and the referees just emotionally, or maybe on purpose, decided to let ball play, even though the foul was against me, not against Michael. That is where the difference is when it comes to those two situations. Referee Bryce is still the only referee in power of this match. There's no ambiguity that his decision is final, and he is catching MJF in the act of trying to hide from him, from referee Bryce, the fact that Hangman's foot was on the rope by the time that the 3 count happened. Now, The moment referee Bryce hit the 3, he did. I can only presume, and I think I'm safe to presume, that he did not see the foot on the rope. He only realized it afterwards, I presume, while Mark Briscoe was threatened to come in the ring. He saw that Hangman's foot was on the rope, and he presumed, correctly, that the foot was on the rope by the time that the 3 count happened. He's calling something that he didn't see, and I am not fully black and white when it comes to the rule of calling stuff that you don't see, but it is still a bit of a gray area here. But because it was the right call, we're gonna let it pass, and I think we have to wait until a moment when that isn't the right call to try and determine some sort of abstract rule set off of that. But here we are. This is the kind of gray area that gets taken advantage of. And if someone like MJF can take advantage of that gray area, I think it's only fair that someone like Bryce Remsburg takes advantage of that gray area when it comes up.
The foot's on the rope. It was off the rope. It was off the rope. Oh, no, it's fucking going. Bryce Remsburg, he hasn't made the official announcement.
This leads to the referee deciding to not ring the bell and end the match, for the match to continue, deciding that the pinfall was not the finish of the match, because there's a certain process. If you kind of like take a step back and go through the protocol process, the match doesn't end the moment a wrestler taps out. It ends the moment the referee sees the tap out and takes that as a decision, and that's when the bell rings. The decision for a match to end is never on the wrestlers, it's on the referee, right? So similar to here, despite the fact that he counted a 3, he decided that that was not a pinfall, that was not the end of the match, and he's now basically not ending the match. The match has continued. It is MJF's choice to let himself be distracted by the referee and yelling at him. He put the hands on the referee, which could be a disqualification. The referee decides to put his hands back on him as opposed to disqualifying MJF, which in some people's perspective, and I kind of understand that perspective, is MJF trying to get away from what's happening next. He decides to let the ball play as opposed to disqualifying MJF and get his licks back, to be fair. Bryce did not see the title, he did not see the contract, but he did see the ring, caught MJF, did not see that. And the match ends. Right. Insane blocking by Bryce. Yeah, he saw that coming. Everything that happened there was fair. And this is how and why it was fair and balanced. We don't like it when the referee changes their mind. There's nothing wrong with the referee changing their mind. I advocate for the idea that the referee's decision is final regardless of what that decision is. We can then litigate on what the decision is, and then a rematch can happen, or like stipulations can be added to any rematch to prevent a bad decision from the referee. I respect that, but in the way I see it, only one person should have power of authority, and whatever that authority is needs to be final, even if it's wrong. And it's okay for the referees to change their mind. They should feel like they have the power to do that. I think that a referee's decision that is wrong but can be justified in the circumstances of why the referee took that decision should not be grounds to presume the incompetence of a referee against a referee whose decision is wrong because he personally doesn't understand his role. I like it when he means Hangman doesn't lose and we don't have to ride. Well, Wrestle Trash, when I'm talking about 2 weights and 2 measurements, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. How much have I been yelling about David getting his title taken off him and Teeks getting robbed by the ref? Am I going to be a hypocrite now? Absolutely not. There you go, Sarah. Absolutely, yeah. David says it's fair, so yes. Did I? This is why we need to stream and not the expert. Thank you. I am the expert. There you go. You need an expert opinion. Professor Francisco says goes. Absolutely. Now, to figure out how to rip this audio and stick it in the episode, I'll send it to you. I got you. Is always Francisco correct? Oh my god, Francisco correct is great. Oh, I'm stealing that. Paul. I'll find a way to steal that. I'm glad less people get pinned on the nut shot these days. Hey, listen, he can suck. Alright. He can be bamboozling enough to get you to not be able to kick out of... like, for your opponent to be able to lock you in a proper pin. This has saved us a debate on the pod. There you go, you're welcome.